Before the strategic challenges from an increasingly aggressive China, the U.S. will shift its deterrence focus from Cold War-era weaponry to high-tech weaponry. During the Cold War, the U.S. deployed 250,000 American troops stationed in West Germany as a deterrent force to prevent potential threats from the Soviet Union. At the same time, it actively developed its nuclear forces. At its peak, Washington possessed 31,000 units of nuclear weapons. Additionally, effective deterrent weapons for the U.S. during the Cold War were aircraft carriers and B-52 Stratofortress strategic bombers. The geopolitical competition between the U.S. and China is taking place not only on land, but also at sea, in outer space, and in cyberspace. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Please comment what you want to suggest to me. That will be the motivation for me to make videos every day. Thank you very much. The U.S. Navy, with its inherent strength as a global maritime hegemon, nevertheless faces a Chinese Navy whose power cannot be underestimated. All U.S. strategic planners highly agree that the Navy is the most important military force to protect U.S. national interests, and therefore investment must be concentrated there. However, in the 21st century, aircraft carriers are no longer the main weapon of the U.S. Navy. Instead, the main weapons are 92 cruisers and destroyers equipped with the Aegis Combat System, operating in all oceans, carrying out freedom of navigation operations. These warships ensure U.S. dominance in the oceans and escort fleets, including aircraft carriers from missile and aerial attack threats. Therefore, experts recommend that the U.S. government carefully consider how to maintain its maritime superiority, especially by investing in combat ships equipped with the Aegis Combat System. Currently, this combat system has been integrated into all Arleigh Burke-class destroyers and Ticonderoga-class cruisers. Many viewers here have probably heard of the superior power of these two ships in air defense, anti-ship, and anti-submarine roles. The Ticonderoga is equipped with up to 122 Mk-41 vertical launch tubes that can carry various types of missiles, while the Arleigh Burke has 90 to 96 tubes. If combined, they can establish an air, surface, and underwater defense umbrella to protect the entire carrier strike group. But in reality, they would not be able to unleash their full power without the Aegis Combat System. So what is so special about this system that it can turn a normal combat ship into a nightmare for every fleet across the oceans? The Aegis Combat System, deployed by the U.S. Navy, is dubbed the most advanced and complex combat system in the world, the heart of the transcontinental ballistic missile defense system that the U.S. is building. It is simply understood as the integration of many different components, based on several separate sensor systems to track and detect various threats from mines, torpedoes, submarines to aerial targets, anti-ship missiles, and ballistic missiles. The main weapon of the Aegis Combat System is the Standard Missile SM Interceptor. Early variants of this system used RIM-66 67-156 interceptor missiles. These are solid-fuel missiles with a maximum range of up to 170 kilometers and an altitude of 25 kilometers. The SM-2 Block III variant uses a semi-active radar seeker, and the SM-2 Block IIB uses a semi-active infrared seeker. More modern Aegis variants use RIM-161 SM-3 interceptor missiles, which have a range of up to 2,500 kilometers, an altitude of up to 1,500 kilometers, and are designed to intercept long-range ballistic missiles outside the atmosphere. However, to gain the upper hand in a major battle with China, starting from the waves off the South China Sea, the United States needs to prepare much more. And one of the warriors that the Pentagon possesses that Beijing fears most must certainly be the BGM-109, Tomahawk Cruise Missile, the messenger of war. Indeed, the Tomahawk missile always plays an important opening role whenever the U.S. wants to declare war or launch a preemptive strike in a certain country. The destinations of the Tomahawk in recent years have been Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, and most recently Syria. In fact, this extremely accurate cruise missile is now prioritized by the U.S. military for all combat vehicles, not only for the Air Force and Army, but also for the Navy. In the naval version, it has two variants: Block VA, equipped with an anti-ship warhead, capable of attacking surface ships up to 1,609 kilometers away, and Block VB, fitted with a land attack warhead. It also integrates a new warhead with a wider operating range and greater destructive power. The Tomahawk's operating range plays a particularly important role in the Asia-Pacific region, where China is also increasing competition in missile power. This includes China's DF-26 and DF-21 nuclear missiles with operating ranges of over 4,000 kilometers and over 2,100 kilometers respectively. These missiles are not only used for VLS vertical launchers on surface ships, but also on attack submarines. But when the world's most battle-hardened attack cruise missile from the US rains down, Beijing may not be able to avoid surprise and find an effective interception method. Because after all, a mountain of theory is not equal to one actual combat experience. And there is nothing more terrifying than when the US can place more than 100 nuclear warheads on China's doorstep without Beijing even knowing or being able to do anything. Indeed, the most powerful US nuclear submarine, the USS Nevada of the Ohio class, carrying 20 Trident ballistic missiles and dozens of nuclear warheads, visited a base on Guam, a US territory, on January 15, 2022. Because the US visit to the island is only 2,700 kilometers west of Taiwan, and conflicts related to Taipei have kept the relationship between Washington and Beijing constantly hot. But ultimately, China still has to be cautious one step behind the Ohio-class submarine, because this country has no experience in anti-submarine warfare and lacks anti-submarine weapons. No submarine of Beijing, including the Shan-class nuclear submarine or the Yuan-class diesel-electric submarine, can compare with the Ohio-class submarine in terms of sensing equipment, stealth, and weapons. As for the nuclear-powered and ballistic missile-equipped Type 092 and Type 094 submarines that China is hinting at, they have not yet been verified. Most of China's warship fleet, including the Liaoning aircraft carrier, also has anti-submarine weapons, but the number is unknown. And many types of weapons, including anti-submarine torpedoes, are copied from old Western and Soviet weapons. Beijing began commissioning Type 054A frigates in 2008, which are equipped with two 300-324mm torpedo launchers on deck on both sides between the two masts. Two 6-tube Type 87 anti-submarine rocket launchers on the forecastle deck behind the breakwater, in front of the main gun. However, the difficulty here is that none of us have verified the power of the Type 054A ship. Thus, China's anti-submarine capability remains a big question mark for the world. And in a future conflict, U.S. Ohio-class nuclear submarines will certainly deliver extremely powerful punches to Beijing's underwater combat capabilities. However, in reality, the most reliable deterrent power is not the Navy's capability, but the U.S. Air Force's power. For at least the past 3 decades, the United States has dominated the aviation sector. Recently, China has acquired powerful equipment, similar to U.S. fighter jets and warships. If Washington wants to contain, it must work closely with its allies to break Beijing's anti-access area denial strategy. The U.S. has been in a superior position for the past few decades and did not think they would face any danger. Washington always assumed they would maintain air superiority. But the U.S. should not forget that they lost 3,744 aircraft in the Vietnam War. The current plan of the U.S. military is to continue maintaining 76 B-52 strategic bombers until at least 2050. It is estimated that the total cost of re-engining these aircraft has reached $1.4 billion United States dollars. Because the B-52 is still an early jet-era aircraft, its performance is much lower while the cost is very high. That's why the Ghost B-2 Spirit would be a much more reasonable choice. Initially considered a strategic nuclear bomber, the B-2 was later modified in the late Cold War to operate as a standard bomber. It is capable of penetrating air defense networks, flying up to 9,656 kilometers without refueling, and can carry 40 tons of guided bombs. The B-2 bomber is a fear for Beijing because it is undetectable by radar and can attack any target on Chinese territory. It can take off from Andersen Air Force Base on Guam and attack targets from Xinjiang to Shanghai. If the US and China clash in a war in the Western Pacific, Beijing is very likely to suffer countless attacks anywhere on its territory. The consequences would be extremely severe. With the B-2, no place on Chinese territory will be safe. Any Chinese airbase, ammunition depot, train station, power plant, or seaport can be attacked. The area of airspace Beijing has to defend increases significantly, and China will have to disperse its air force of 296 Su-27 and Su-35 fighter jets nationwide. The ability to detect and then intercept will not be guaranteed. The B-2 bomber is another weapon system that demonstrates the superior advantage the US possesses. In any potential conflict with Washington, China cannot hope to attack US territory with conventional weapons except for cyber and nuclear weapons. The B-2 truly has no compatible opponent in Beijing's arsenal. A report states that a stealth bomber model is being developed in China, but speculation remains just speculation. To date, no such aircraft has been officially revealed. Unlike other weapons, this Ghost has attacked China before. The B-2 mistakenly attacked the Chinese embassy in Belgrade during a NATO airstrike in 1999. The attack killed 3 Chinese civilians and injured 20. Speaking of the US Air Force, don't forget to mention the F-35 Lightning II stealth fighter, one of the rare names that can make China extremely fearful. As for combat parameters, you here probably know them better than I do. Despite a challenging development history due to budget cuts and delays, if the F-35 operates as advertised by its developers, it will be one of the most formidable fighters in the world. All of China's air defense systems, from early warning aircraft to surface-to-air missiles protecting aircraft carriers or shoulder-fired missile systems, will not be capable of countering stealth aircraft. While fighter jets like the F-35 are extremely expensive, a stealth-capable force will force enemies to invest heavily in upgrading their air defense systems. Like the F-22 Raptor, the F-35 is equipped with a modern sensor suite capable of performing intelligence gathering, reconnaissance, and electronic warfare missions. The F-35's AQ-37 system is said to be capable of detecting ballistic missiles and other targets within a range of 1,287 kilometers, while the APG-81 radar system can map terrain and enemy forces on the ground. These features are useful not only in wartime but also in peacetime. And most importantly, the Japan Self-Defense Force, Beijing's traditional enemy, is also equipped with 35A. Even the close US ally, the UK, is equipped with F-35B on the Queen Elizabeth aircraft carrier and will be deployed to the Indo-Pacific region to coordinate with the US Navy to put pressure on the world's most populous country. This will force China to deal with a highly effective and survivable Air Force alliance. This is the most effective deterrent measure against Beijing. Thus, not to mention attacking the mainland, just engaging in maritime skirmishes alone is enough to make China terrified of the immense potential of the US. However, Beijing is one of the most secretive countries. Information about weapon projects is rarely disclosed publicly. Who knows, they might possess monsters that have never been announced. and we will only know when war truly breaks out. In your opinion, if this hypothesis is true, what kind of secret weapon do you think it is? Tanks, aircraft carriers, missiles, or tactical strategic nuclear weapons? Please share your predictions below to discuss with everyone. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notification bell.